retailer Joann Fabrics is closing
500 to 800 stores across the country.
Company declared bankruptcy last month. Initially said it would keep stores open while it restructured its debt, but now
will liquidate its remaining stock.
Joann joins a growing list of brick and mortar retailers struggling as consumers dial back spending in response to inflation.
For generations, Joann Fabrics was the go-to spot for anyone with a love for sewing, quilting, and crafting. Walking into one of their stores, you'd be met with aisles upon aisles of fabric, rolls, colorful threads, and craft supplies that could spark creativity even in the most reluctant do-it-yourselfer. But today, the once thriving retail giant is struggling to keep its stores open. What happened, and how did the company that once capitalized on America's love for handmade projects find itself on the verge of collapse? The answer is a mix of shifting consumer habits, financial missteps, and an inability to keep up with the digital age. But let's go back to the beginning, when Joann Fabrics was a rising star in the retail world. Joann Fabrics started in 1943 in Cleveland, Ohio, as a single storefront named the Cleveland Fabric Shop. Founded by German immigrants, it catered to the needs of post-war families, many of whom relied on home sewing for clothing and upholstery. As the demand for fabric grew, so did the company. By the 1960s, the store rebranded as Joann Fabrics and embarked on a nationwide expansion. The do-it-yourself movement was in full swing. Homemakers were making curtains, dresses, and even school clothes for their children. Joann became the one-stop shop for all things fabric and crafting. Throughout the 80s and the 90s, Joann continued to expand, both in store count and in product offerings. It was no longer just a fabric store. It evolved into a full-fledged craft and hobby retailer. It wasn't just about sewing anymore. Joann now carried scrapbooking supplies, holiday decorations, and even knitting and crocheting products. This was also the era when Joann cemented itself as a community hub. Local stores hosted classes where customers could learn new skills, and stores became gathering places for crafting groups. At its peak, Joann had over 800 locations across the U.S., solidifying its dominance in the fabric and crafting industry. By the late 2000s, Joann started facing an uncomfortable reality. The traditional home sewing market was shrinking. Younger generations weren't picking up the needle and thread like their parents and grandparents did, and fast fashion made it cheaper and easier to buy clothes off the rack instead of making them at home. Of course, hobbyists still existed, but their needs were changing. Instead of shopping in physical stores, they were turning to online retailers like Amazon and specialty e-commerce sites for their fabric and crafting needs. Joann, a company deeply rooted in the brick-and-mortar model, was slow to adapt. While its competitors like Michaels and Hobby Lobby invested in digital storefronts and seamless online shopping experiences, Joann lagged behind. Their website was clunky, their online selection was often limited, and customers frequently complained about confusing pricing and discount structures. In an era where convenience is king, Joann struggled to keep up. In 2011, Joann was acquired by private equity firm Leonard Green and Partners for $1.6 billion. On the surface, this might have seemed like a win, but in reality, it saddled Joann with a significant debt burden. Like many private equity takeovers, the focus shifted from long-term growth to short-term profitability. Under this new ownership, Joann cut costs. It closed underperforming stores, and it attempted to modernize its business model. However, these changes came at the expense of the customer. Many longtime shoppers complained about fewer staff members, declining customer service, and rising prices. This was all until 2020, where Joann saw a surprising resurgence, thanks to the pandemic. As people stayed home, many rediscovered crafting. Mask making became a nationwide phenomenon, and Joann benefited massively from selling fabric and supplies in record numbers. For a brief moment, it seemed like the company had found new life, but as the world reopened, the crafting boom faded. Sales plummeted, and Joann found itself worse off than before. By early 2024, Joann Fabrics was drowning in debt and struggling to stay afloat. The company officially filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, citing declining sales, rising operational costs, and an inability to compete in the modern retail landscape. Store closures followed, leaving loyal customers scrambling for alternatives. And while Joann has vowed to restructure and stay in business, its future remains uncertain. What happened to Joann Fabrics is a cautionary tale for any retailer in the modern age. It shows what happens when a beloved brand fails to evolve with changing consumer habits. It also highlights the dangers of private equity ownership, one that which prioritizes profit over long-term sustainability. And most importantly, it serves as a reminder that nostalgia alone isn't enough to keep a business thriving. Can Joann make a comeback? Well, Only time will tell, but one thing is clear, without major innovation, the golden age of Joann Fabrics is likely over. What do you guys think? Did you grow up shopping at Joann Fabrics? Do you think the company has a shot at survival? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you like videos like this, please leave a like and consider subscribing. And I'll see you guys in the next one.